This week saw the release of the second issue of Two-Face's miniseries written by Christian Ward and illustrated by Fabio Veras, and there was no way in hell that I'd be able to resist talking about this comic. So before I continue, let's briefly recap the series' premise. Two-Face has established a kind of villain's court, the White Church, where the baddies of Gotham can come to settle their disputes before everything blows up. Two-Face acts as the defender, the Reaper, the judge, and a character called Gavel, the bailiff. The twist in the story, big spoilers now, so you have been warned, is that it isn't Two-Face running things. It's Harvey Dent, and he has banished Two-Face to a prison within his own mind. He is simply pretending to be the ruthless Two-Face in order to get the villains to toe the line. His aim is to show the authorities what he's able to achieve in the hopes of returning to a somewhat normal life as a lawyer. However, there is a shadowy figure that is trying to undo the work of the White Church called the Shadow Hand, and in this issue they make their presence known. Dent's latest case involves defending King of the Royal Flush Gang against accusations of infidelity. Note that he had a prenuptial agreement that states that if he committed adultery, he consented to being murdered by his wife, Queen. At the last minute, photographic evidence is submitted which seems to show King in a tryst with the villain White Rabbit, which was a breach of protocol. In a regular court, all evidence is supposed to be submitted ahead of time so that the representation from both sides can properly analyse it and build their case. So Dent has to rush to get to the bottom of the pictures because King is adamant that it wasn't him, and so he sends his new assistant Lake Cantwell to verify their authenticity. There's also a second story that takes place entirely within Dent's head where Two-Face is imprisoned. The jail is populated with Harvey Dent's memories as well as an imaginary version of Salvatore Moroni, the man who disfigured Dent. Obviously, he's not the real Moroni, but that doesn't stop Two-Face from talking with and later on murdering him. While Dent thinks that Two-Face is safely locked away, Two-Face has been busy doing some mental construction of his own, building what seems to be a lighthouse, which is intriguing. So the main mystery of the story, namely the Royal Flush Gang's drama, was brought about by the Shadow Hand and his followers, an eclectic group of obscure supervillains. The first member to talk about is Falseface, a Silver Age villain who was able to impersonate pretty much anyone. His inclusion is worth noting for two reasons. One, he's another face villain that specialises in deceiving people, kinda like Dent has been doing in this series, and the fact that he has barely been used since his creation. People that watched the 1960s Batman TV series starring Adam West may recall Falseface appearing in the show as a Clayface stand-in, but he's relatively underused in the comics. Falseface impersonates Queen's lawyer, Dr. Bure, and is only caught out because he lets his accent slip a few times. Most people didn't notice, but Harvey Dent does. Dent's perceptiveness is a big driver of the plot in this story. When examining the supposed secret photos of King's infidelity, he sees that the photographer is reflected in one of the mirrors, and she is standing in the middle of the room plain as day. These photos were staged, and he recognises the photographer, the alter ego of White Rabbit. For those that aren't familiar with White Rabbit, she is a relatively recent creation. Jaina Hudson has the ability to create an albino double of herself, essentially splitting herself in two, and the two worked with Falseface to incriminate King. Again, another villain with a double identity, and the notion of splitting one person into two. Very appropriate for Two-Face. At the issue's end, we see the rest of the group. First of all, a very recent villain named Doubt, another creation of Christian Ward's, that first appeared in a short story in the recently cancelled Batman the Brave and the Bold anthology series. Doubt can control people through the power of his voice, but his commands have to be framed through a doubt. In his first appearance, he told Batman that he doubted that Batman was Batman anymore, triggering an existential crisis. Batman overcame this by focusing on a more positive voice in his mind, Alfred's voice, telling him that he believed in him. He also played back an edited recording of Doubt's voice telling Doubt that he doubted that Doubt was Doubt anymore, seemingly negating his powers. But Doubt seems to be back here. Perhaps he had his own inner voice telling him to believe in himself and overcome his insecurities. The next villain is a character called Di, who I do not recognise and haven't been able to find anything about. She may very well be a brand new character, but I can't rule out that she's just incredibly obscure. Finally, we have a shadowy figure who claims that Two-Face has taken everything from him, the Shadow Hand himself. Usually when a character's identity is hidden in the shadows, it's because there's someone we're going to recognise. If I had to bet money on it, I'd bet on the shadow hand being Two-Face himself, wandering around without Harvey Dent's knowledge, perhaps while he's asleep. It's practically a trope now, as seen in the Batman the Animated Series episode Second Chance, where Two-Face had Harvey Dent kidnapped to prevent him from having his face surgically repaired. Or in the Two-Face One Bad Day special, where the person sabotaging Harvey Dent's attempt at reforming was Two-Face. Note that his left hand is obscured in shadow, while his right hand is visible. Two-Face's left hand is as scarred as his face. It's so obvious that I wouldn't be surprised if Christian Ward was trying to trick us, and that the villain's real identity will take us completely by surprise. But we'll just have to wait and see. Before wrapping up, I wanted to briefly touch upon Lake Cantwell, who demonstrates herself to be a skilled investigator. The fact that she's not a colourful supervillain means she can go places without people paying too much attention to her. It's also confirmed that she is deaf and has to use a hearing aid. However, because of her disability, she learned to pick up on non-audible cues to get a read of people and situations, which helps her in her investigations. She also showed no fear when she returned to the White Church to break up the brawl that ensued when the cybernetic Ace turned up to rescue King. At that point, Dent had doused Ace in acid and was prepared to shoot him. However, Lake fired her own gun into the air to try to restore order. She's a solid character, and it wouldn't surprise me if she was somehow involved with the Shadow Hand. Maybe her name is an anagram? I haven't quite solved that one yet. But anyway, we'll have to wait and see. Two-Face #2 is out now in all good comic shops and should be pretty easy to get your hands on, assuming they still have copies. If you're based in the UK and don't have a comic shop near you, then you might want to use my affiliate link with the UK's largest comic book retailer, Forbidden Planet. I have included a link in this video's description. Alternatively, if the idea of hoarding a collection of comic books fills you with dread, I'm getting perilously close to filling up our storage unit, you may want to try getting a digital copy of the issue from Amazon. I also have a global affiliate link which you could use to help my channel out. I've included my Amazon affiliate link in the info button in the top right corner, as well as the video's description. And just before I wrap up, special thanks to all of my current channel members who help make these videos possible. Their names are listed on screen right now. So, to those that have read this issue, what did you make of it? What do we think Two-Face's mental lighthouse is for? Communicating with the outside world perhaps? Warning them of danger ahead? If any of you know who Dai is, please let me know. I spent a long time trawling through various DC Comics wikis and couldn't find anything. I don't know how I'll feel if it turns out that she is a new character. Relief in the knowledge that I can actually read, or frustration that I spent so long double checking. Let me know your thoughts below. But next week I'll be back to talk about the 4th issue of Absolute Batman, to see if Batman really will take up Black Mask on his peace offer. Hope to see you then.